What's going on, guys? And today we are going to be talking about Friday the 13th, Part 3, 3D. So, go get your 3D glasses on because this is going to be a good one. Jesus. All right, so this movie takes place a day later after Part 2, and we follow Chris Higgins as she's coming back to her old house, if I'm remembering correctly. Higgins Haven, after many years of not being there, after having a traumatizing encounter with Jason. Now, I like this movie. I just rewatched it for this review, and it was a lot better than I originally thought it was. Um, I don't know what I had. I know what I had a problem with, but I guess some of those problems I think have subsided a little bit in my recent rewatch. But before we get into the positives and the negatives of this movie, we have to talk about how much stuff is around this lake. Because you would think that not much stuff is around a lake like it is with this town Crystal Lake is. And so I got a map off of Google, so hopefully it's correct. I think it is. Of the many places that we go throughout this franchise. So here's the list. We have the original campsite, Crystal Lake. We have Jason's shack. We have Paul's training center. We have Higgins Haven. We have the cabin resort in the Jarvis house from 4. We have the halfway house, and we have the Forest Green in part 6. We have the Crystal Lake docks in 7, and well, we can't go to 8 because he goes to New York or Vancouver. And in X we have the Crystal Lake Research Center. Now, in the first parts 2 through 3, I can give it a pass, but it kind of gets a little ridiculous. How many people are staying around this one lake? Like, you think after part 2, even, that they would close off the vicinity and evacuate it until they found something, until they found the killer. But I guess the police aren't really getting paid that much in that small town, Crystal Lake, now, are they? But it's just a funny thought to think about whenever you think about these movies, because they all take place around this except for 8. Every single one of them is around Camp Crystal Lake. He doesn't go anywhere else besides New York. He fucking loves New York. That Jason does. For what reason? I don't know. Oh, wait. He also goes to space. He didn't even want to, but he went there. But we haven't gotten there yet. Okay. Alright, let's go on to the positives and the negatives. And my first positive is Richard Brooker as Jason. I really like him in the role. You can, through parts 2 through 4, we see it's like a little origin story for Jason. We see him very clumsy in part 2, and then he gets more of his confidence in 3, and then in 4 he becomes his final form for what he truly is in his human form. And I like this. We get a much more brutal Jason, much more intimidating Jason in this movie. It's very good. His performance was phenomenal for what we got from Richard Brooker. Alright, and coming in on the next positive, the characters are alright here. My baseline for characters in this franchise is that for them to be okay or decent to good, gotta be better than 1. That's like the main bar you gotta hit. You gotta be better than 1. But unfortunately, the characters here aren't really better than the ones we got in part 2, which was a balance of goofy and fun and like some actually well written characters. There was like maybe 1 here, and like most of them are like goofy and all that, and just like one note. But I think Chris stands out the most because of her history with Jason. That's such an interesting backstory to have. I mean, I don't know. We haven't, up to this point, had gotten anything like that. And I think the story is really interesting whenever she is fighting him and she finds out that it is him. And yeah, it just gives a little insight to what Jason was doing before we found him in with the sack head in part 2. But most of the characters are right here. Most of them. Alright, and the next positive I have for this is that the kills are good. I really like the kills here.
What are you doing? Hey, now cut that out right now. That's not funny.
It shows Jason escalating his brutality more in this movie. Like, it keeps escalating until, like, we get the perfected version of his human form in part 4. And I just found that to be really, really good, even if they didn't really mean to do that. But with all that being said, the movie isn't perfect. It does have negatives. So starting off with the negatives, my first negative is in the goddamn title. It's the 3D effects. These are so annoying to me. I don't know if it's annoying for anyone else, but every time I see it, besides the ones we get in the kills, because those are kind of creative, I'll give them that, but the ones that are not, they are just so irritating to look at, because I don't have any 3D glasses, and the version of the movie I have does not even have that stupid 3D effect. I mean, I don't even know if they were using that back in the day, but anyways, they are annoying, and they really should have just left it out, and they could have really done without it, and it might have really helped the movie. I mean, all that time they spent coming up with creative effects, they could have been polishing the script a little bit more. Which is leading to my next negative, is that the movie should have focused on Chris and her trauma with Jason more. We only get a little bit of it, and it is a positive that we do get it, but it's also a negative that we don't really focus on it. Because if we had focused on it more, it would have been like more impactful when we see it get revealed to Chris that it's this man that attacked her many years ago. It would have been far more impactful at the end. I mean, it's still impactful, but not as, it's just like, oh, it's you. But if we had focused on Chris a little bit more and her trauma with Jason, and if it was talked about more, then I think that this could have been a really standout movie in the franchise. But coming on to the next negative I have with this movie, the ending jump scare. Now, if you watch my other reviews, you know that the ending jump scare, the problem with them is that that the movie could have ended with those ending jump scares. But the problem with this one is, I don't think you could have ended the movie with this jump scare because it just doesn't make any sense whatsoever. The jump scare is Pamela, anyway, no wait, first. What happens is, Chris gets on a boat for some reason. Instead of going out and like running for help after she quote unquote kills Jason, she gets in a boat and goes into the middle of the lake in this supposed thing she's doing. And we see that Jason's alive, and she's trying to, and he's peers through the window, and she's trying to get away with the boat. But then Pamela comes out from the lake and gets her. Now, this would have been more creative and impactful if she knew who these people were. Could she have read about Pamela? Possibly. But it is said that she has not come back to this place ever since she was traumatized back then when she was a teenager. And she hasn't heard the rumors that Jason is alive. She doesn't know who this man is, and she possibly can't know who his mom is, or that they're even related to even have this little, like, traumatic hallucination that she's having. So it doesn't make sense. Does it look cool? I mean, yeah, it's cool to see a zombie Pamela Voorhees come out the water, but that also doesn't make sense since she was decapitated. So take that with what you will. But I really enjoyed this movie for the second time going around because I watched it a few years ago. I thought it was just okay at best. It was kind of tied for me. The first movie and this one were kind of tied, but coming back to it, I enjoyed it more than I did. So with that being said, I would give it a 3.5 out of 5. Like I said, it's not as good. Like I said, it's not good as 2, but it's certainly better than 1 in some regards. And I would come back to this movie more than I would 1. But the small step down with characters and the flow of the movie, because for God's sakes, we spend an entire portions of this movie in a barn. A barn. But with that being said, that's going to be it. I'll see you guys in the next one.